see. I'm gonna try this. I like the thing is I like seeing your faces. That's that's one of my challenges with changing this system, because I like to see you. So tonight I want to talk about the Sagittarius full moon that's on Wednesday and kind of the energy tied into right now. Um, I have been, okay, so this is related to the full moon, but for the last year, Jupiter has been in Gemini for about a year. It just went into, Jupiter just went into Sagittarius today. Or I'm sorry, into Cancer, excuse me. Sorry, Jupiter went into Cancer today. And I feel the shift of energy the last few days. Okay, so Jupiter is said to be in its, maybe I'll go to the next slide, but Jupiter is said to be in its fall or maybe its detriment in Gemini. Because it has so many choices, it doesn't do well there because Jupiter makes everything bigger. And supposedly, Jupiter doesn't do so well in Gemini because it's got too many choices of where to shine its energy. So it's a little bit, the energy of Jupiter is dissipated in Gemini. In contrast, Jupiter just moved into Cancer this afternoon at around 2 p.m. Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, meaning it like really brings out Jupiter's best qualities. And I, it's funny the last 4 days, Jupiter was at the last degree of Gemini, and the first of the 4 days, I woke up. I would say the word is exasperated. I was exasperated because I've been thinking about all these different things. Do I want to do this? Do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? And maybe like all these different things I created in the last year, and I'm like, okay, I need to focus my attention somewhere. Like, what are the things that I'm choosing? So I was really frustrated. I mean, I woke up, I think that was the word. It was like I got out of bed and I'm like, I'm so exasperated. And then I realized Jupiter was at the last degree. It kind of hit me as I was getting ready for my meditation. I'm like, oh, Jupiter's probably at the last degree of Gemini. And I'm like reviewing all these things that I did last year, which was a lot. I published a book and then I opened that new business and I tried all these different offerings and I tried team healing and I did all I did all these things and I tried this, trauma mastermind and blah 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 and neurographics and there were so many things and it was just driving me crazy the feeling of like I just want to pick a couple of them and then make and have them grow. And so here we're at now, just this transition today into Jupiter and Cancer. It's like, as I've explored this energy the last few days, I decided actually after I was exasperated, I decided that I would look at the more the positive. I was frustrated. I was kind of like angry. I was like, "Oh, this Jupiter and Gemini energy, and I'm a Pisces, so part of me is ruled by Jupiter. So I was just like frustrated at myself. And anyway, so I kind of after I meditated, I was like, okay, wait a minute here. What did I get out of this year? And I decided to write an ode to Jupiter instead of the ode to Jupiter and Gemini instead of being angry and frustrated about all these different things that I started and stopped and choices, all the different things that I tried to create and that didn't work. I was just like, okay, what did I learn from all this? So I wrote some things. I wrote down all the things that I created and accomplished last year, and then I looked at it a little different. I'm like, well, okay, I brought a lot into fruition this last year, and now I can kind of choose whatever lights me up the most. And so that's where I've been questioning the last few days is like, one of the words for Jupiter is inspiration. Like, what inspires me? What enthusiasm is another Jupiter word. Like, what brings out my enthusiasm? So these are the things I've been questioning about moving forward. Like, what are the things, because I think we're naturally going to want, I don't know, maybe it's just me because I'm not a Gemini, but like I want to narrow it down. Like I totally wore myself out last year pursuing all these different things. And now that I'm taking care of myself and my body, much more, I'm paying attention to my energy much more because of my physical health. I'm like, okay, I still want to keep several things. I'm a, multi-passionate entrepreneur. I want to keep a few things, but I also want to figure out what are kind of the main things. The art business with Scott is one of them. The soul gardener work is one of them, and there might be a couple other things in there. But I'm definitely like kind of streamlining my options to figure out what is it that I want to cultivate? I have these questions at the end of the presentation. What do I want to cultivate and nurture, which is the Cancer energy? Cancer in gardening is the most fertile sign. Like, if you want to garden with the moon, you plant your seeds in the Cancer energy, and that's the things that grow and flourish. So Jupiter is the most expansive planet. It has the biggest electromagnetic field. Like, I can't remember, but if you could see Jupiter's electromagnetic field, it would look so huge from Earth. You would be like, I think it looks bigger than the sun, would look bigger than the sun if you actually could see its huge electromagnetic field. So Jupiter wants to expand things. That's again why it doesn't do well in Gemini, because it's got too many choices and it's expanding and, like I say, dissipating the energy. But in Cancer, it wants to expand and grow. This is an incredibly fertile year for growing something. And I mean, and themes, nurturing, growing, cultivating are Cancerian words. But also home. Cancer is like the sign of ruled by the moon, the sign of the mother. Home, like I was just reading something really quick before this talk about home and like maybe redecorating a little bit or maybe updating your. I'm definitely like I'm moving into my office, so that's like this home. Like it just happened today. It was like all of a sudden I had clarity. There were all these choices, right? I've been moving into my house. I don't need, all these rooms need to be finished and built and painted. And all of a sudden, I just had like clarity on like what colors I wanted and, what furniture I wanted and how I wanted to arrange my office. So, home is a theme of this time too. And it doesn't have to be your, literal home, like a house or an apartment. It could be your body is our home, or your spiritual home could be a different place than your home, your emotional home, whatever those themes are. So home is a theme in this Cancerian energy, and we're finishing up the sun in Gemini. We're about to go into the summer solstice. So there's kind of this growing, and Mercury moved into Cancer this last few days, this growing Cancerian energy, nurturing energy, summer solstice energy. So I definitely was excited about this shift today, and it plays into this full moon that we're going to have on Wednesday. So I jumped around on my slide here, but I have heard the word reset in the last, let's say, week in terms of like the time, the zeitgeist of this time. I've heard the word reset like 5 times, maybe or more. I on Thursday last week I took 2 classes, 2 different classes. One was for business and it was called the Authority Reset, and one was for astrology called Reset, about the Neptune and Saturn going into Aries, and Pluto and Aquarius, and the minor grand trine forming, and then Uranus going to Gemini. This year is like uh, supposedly a big reset year, but I'll say I don't like that term reset. Well, okay, the term reset to me sounds like when you factory reset your phone or your computer, like all your data is lost. So like the term has a negative connotation to me, reset, because I don't want to reset. I want to upgrade. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to go back to the way I was 36 years ago, because Neptune and Saturn only meet in the sky every 36 years. That was when in 1989 when I decided to go. to college was like that new beginning, like I would say, I mean, you could say a new chapter, but I'm going to, somewhere I put, it's not even a new chapter. This is like a whole new book. We're in a whole new book, like starting a new book of our lives. So I consider it more of an evolutionary upgrade. I want to take all the wisdom I've gathered throughout my life through the last 36 years, because that was a really big period of change, like going to college and getting out of college and getting married and having children and blah blah blah. And now I'm kind of in a really there's a whole new beginning happening here, but I want to take all of that, all that I've learned, all the growth that I've had, and then take that into this next like new book that we're writing for our lives. That's a good Gemini. Geminis like to write. So that's a good metaphor for our story, this new book of our story. Yeah. So anyway, and Mercury, okay, Mercury went into Cancer. The reason I put Mercury in here is because Mercury just went into Cancer, but it rules Gemini. So it moves fast. Mercury moves fast. It's the mind, choices, options, communications. And so that's playing into this full moon because the sun is in Mercury, but also Mercury just moved into Cancer. So we have this really strong, like I said, Cancerian energy forming. And then, oh, I said it already, Jupiter's been in Gemini for the past year, giving us a lot of choice, helping us see different points of view on things, looking at different options, and different opportunities. And you don't have to get rid of all the opportunities. You can cultivate as many of them as you want. But I do feel like it's funny. Scott came up about 2 hours ago. My husband came up to my office and he was like, I'm at a decision point. He's been designing he wants to design cabinets for a house. And he's been exploring all these different options. He's going to design them and make a program on the laser and cut them out. And so for basically almost a year now, he's been talking about these cabinets and thinking about them and dreaming how he's going to do them. And today he said, and this was about at the same time that Jupiter moved into Cancer, I'm at a decision point about the cabinets. And I thought, oh, that is a perfect illustration of this moment as Jupiter moves into Cancer of like, decide, you've got all these choices, and now you're like, okay, I'm going to decide to move forward with this option or this set of options, and I'm going to see how they work. Jupiter will go retrograde at some point, and we'll have Neptune and Saturn go retrograde later this year and all that. So we might have to shift the new choices a little bit. We might have to rethink them or say we forgot something and we're like, oh yeah, I want to add that back in. So, but this is definitely a decision point moment and I think the full moon feeds into that because, things come to fruition and culmination at the full moon. Um, Let me move this so I can see. So, as you know, the full moon, you get a clearer picture. You get a clearer picture. I'm going to circle back on that. Things come to, I'll go through my list first. Things come to fruition at the full moon. Ideas materialize at the full moon. Sometimes pieces come together. I've seen it multiple times as we built this house, how we were working on something and then all this energy like came together at the around the at the full moon, around the full moon. I was like things seem to come together and come to fruition at the full moon. um you may receive a download or a psychic vision. I definitely have noticed today when I meditated, I got a good night's sleep last night too. I think that helped. I had like clarity, like some of the stuff I've been thinking about clicked this morning, and that's definitely an energy I associate with the full moon. So that download, the psychic vision, the increase in dreams, the answers to questions, the high energy, that's energy I associate with the full moon. You have an insight or receive clarity on something that you've been working. Well, hopefully that's true with the full moon. Um, you might see the truth of the situation, especially with the Sagittarius full moon. you have an opportunity to see the truth of the situation. And Sagittarians like to get things done. I mean, so Sagittarian moon, this is definitely speaking to my energy. Like you want to get something done. You're like go and do it. Yeah, okay, and basing this on the Sagittarians, I know I have a lot of other energy with them, but you might see the truth of it, and I think that's part of this decision point, like the fact that this is a Sagittarius full moon. It's a Jupiter ruled moon, so Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, and it's like, what is the, like I say, choice or set of choices that I want to move forward with? That's kind of an insight, I think, that at least in my life, that's what's happening. Um, and then with the full moon, so I think, okay, so this is combining the mysteries with psychology. I mean, the psychology is part of sacred mystery work, and so I think the moon is connected to the subconscious. I think the sun is connected to the superconscious. And when we have a full moon, okay, so if this is the sun and this is the moon, and the earth is in the middle. To me, that's our conscious awareness. I think of our earth as our conscious awareness. And when the sun and moon at a full moon are in opposition around the earth. And so you see, the sun at sunset, you see the moon rising in the west, and you see the sun, the sun is in the west setting, and the moon is rising in the east, and they're at this opposition. That's how we see the moon on the full moon. And this is a time where we get a mirroring effect. If you think of the superconscious shining its light on the moon, it is like it's illuminating our subconscious for us to see it more clearly. I think that's, to me, part of the mystery of the moon work, of the lunar alchemy work, is being able to like kind of peer into your subconscious from the point of view of your superconscious at a full moon. Get and to see again, you can look at the symbols, right? Like if you look at what's coming to fruition for you, you can say, oh, this is in anything that comes to fruition at the full moon is like usually in harmony with your subconscious, right? You've created enough patterning in your subconscious to be like, this is going to materialize for me. Anything that's at the full moon, also, you can see what's in conflict. So, this is the part at the top. Um, if you are trying to create something, trying to think of an example. That isn't working or you have a lot of resistance coming up, often it's at the full moon where you will get an insight or a vision of like, or you'll be like, oh, I see why. If you have a blind spot about the situation, you might see it at the full moon and you'll be able to move forward after you have that insight. So I'm trying to think. I've had a lot of, I don't have a current one. I don't know. We'll see what this full moon brings. I don't have a current one, but I have a lot of past examples. Like when I was writing Activating Lunar Alchemy at the full moon, like things would come up, like my body, like my body would be in pain because I was just sitting at my desk and trying to push myself too hard. And like certain insights and seeing you can see the pattern under it. I guess that's what the point about the subconscious and the superconscious. I want to teach you how to see those emotional patterns or those childhood patterns or the trauma patterns so that then you can see that they have at this point maybe they have no more hold over you and you're able to let them go and kind of seed other more current and the new things that you're bringing into your life. You're going to, seed that and, let go of the traumatic patterning and put this positive self-love patterning in there. Replace it with that. So I think the full moon is a powerful time, an energetic time. And so this full moon, let's see, my slide is not working. Oh, whoops, back up. Let me talk a little bit more of the subconscious. So these are the rules of the subconscious that I shared last full moon, but these are ones that we use in lunar alchemy. I think of them a different, they're always happening. These are the rules of the subconscious. They're always happening, but we use them differently in the different phases of the moon. So the subconscious response to conscious suggestions, well, we're always thinking thoughts that are seeding the subconscious, right? At the new moon, however, we really use that when we do our new moon ritual to seed with new, maybe something new or something that we want to grow or something we want to reinforce. We really seed the subconscious with what we desire. And then the ones that are highlighted, subconsciousness has a perfect recollection of our memories. So this is about the soul container. Um, the subconsciousness, I believe, remembers our entire life, right? So if you go into hypnosis or whatever, you can remember all the things that happened to you when you were a baby and stuff that your conscious mind doesn't remember, and past lives. So I think the subconsciousness contains all that, and this is one of the rules that we use in the full moon, in my opinion, because when we're in this opposition between the sun and the moon and this high energy between the superconscious and the subconscious, we can get a glimpse of, like I said, these memories, these patterns. Um, Subconsciousness responds more to desired results. There's a typo there, emotions than commands. So when we think about what we're creating with emotion, like we're visualizing it and we're visualizing how we want to feel, or we're getting into that feeling state, that's more powerful than an affirmation, let's say, because an affirmation is a little bit of a command, but it's still a suggestion. But if you can get your affirmations to be imbued with feeling, then you can increase the subconscious, the effectiveness, I guess, of using those tools. And so again, I associate that more with the new moon, but we use that throughout the moon cycle. Subconsciousness responds readily to habitual actions. So last week on the first quarter, I really talked about supportive actions and habitual actions that seed the subconscious and help you move in the direction of whatever it is you're attempting to create. Subconsciousness responds and communicates through symbols and pictures. Again, that's related to the rituals we do. We use that throughout the moon cycle. So I guess I should have highlighted it, and then subconsciousness responds immediately to the suggestions you give it. So again, at the full moon, okay, I've seen this over the years where, okay, I'll use Scott as an example. On a full moon, this was a full moon in Cancer. It was in 2020. So this is a new moon in Cancer. Sorry, new moon in Cancer 2020. So the Cancer full moon, Cancer new moon is a very fertile time, and I think it will be extremely fertile this year in 2 weeks because of the Jupiter going into Cancer. So just to keep that in your mind, that new moon in Cancer is going to be a very fertile time. That's right near the summer solstice. So anyway, the subconscious responds immediately to the suggestions. So Scott, and this I think is about the moon work, but it is the subconscious and the moon are connected both symbolically, like the moon is a symbol of the subconscious. And I also think in a creative way, they're the way we use the moon work with the rhythms, they're also connected. So anyway, so Scott, on this was the Cancer new moon of 2020. He had written this before in his moon work, but he decided. I told him it was an extremely fertile new moon, like this year, that year, and I remember telling him I was like, okay, do a moon wheel, and this is one to bring your dreams into reality. So he wrote down what he wanted from the house. He wanted sticks and rocks, and he wrote this dream vision in his moon wheel of the house. And I kid you not, 2 weeks later, he was offered the opportunity to build the house that we're in now. And it was like at the full moon, and I was just blown away because it was one where, I mean, he had seeded his subconscious with this idea before. He had dreamed of building his house like throughout his life, but he like made this really powerful suggestion and probably over the years laid the groundwork for it. And then it came to fruition in 2 weeks. Like sometimes that happens with the moon work. You'll see the new moon and you'll see it come to fruition in 2 weeks. And I was so blown away. So to me, that's an illustration of the subconscious responds immediately to the suggestions you give it. I mean, it could happen much faster. Really depends on whether your subconscious is primed to receive the suggestion, right? If you have, I'll use myself as an example. If you want to, okay, I've been trying to seed like self-love in, you know what I mean? And if and not to say there's a lot of self-hate, but there's been a lot of trauma in my life, and I learned some things about getting love by serving other people and some kind of Piscean martyrdom things. And um, if your subconscious is in harmony with the thing you're seeding with it, it will come to fruition really quickly. But if your subconscious has all these other patterns and programs that contradict your the seeds are, it will take more work to keep like watering, let's say, keep taking action, create new habits to change those subconscious beliefs, those subconscious patterns. Again, this is where the full moon comes into play, is because when you can see the pattern that keeps coming up in your life, when you're like, I don't know if you've ever had a relationship where you were like, oh, this is what happened in my last relationship. This is what happened, right? The same pattern happened in this relationship over and over again. And you're like, what's going, and the full moon is a really opportune time to see that. Like, what is the pattern? And when, again, my experience with the moon work and alchemy, as soon as you can see the pattern that has been running the show from your subconscious, that is the moment when you can overcome it and change it, because it's like seeing behind the curtain or whatever, seeing seeing the gears and levers of the of like the wizard or whatever. So the full moon, this full moon time is a great time for, and especially this one with Jupiter in Cancer, I think, and this Sagittarian, this search for truth. This is a great moon for insights, for gathering these insights. Um, so that's why I went so deeply into psychology again of this, because I want you to be primed to gather these insights that the full moon affords. I just want to go over this. I actually talked about, I probably put this in the wrong order, but so again, I think of the Earth as I thought a lot about this over a long time now, about if you were thinking about the planets as related to consciousness. And again, this is related to the Kabbalah, but I think of Earth as our conscious awareness. And then the moon, again, like I said, is our subconscious. I'd say the sun is our superconscious. There's other aspects above that, above our superconscious that feeds in. And then the collective unconscious, I'm not 100% sure about this one, but I'm thinking it could be connected to Pluto. And then the collective superconscious, I'm thinking is, right, this divine kind of energy. It would probably most likely, that might be a question mark one too, probably most likely connected to the way we think of Neptune in Western astrology. But with the moon work, we're kind of working with the earth, right? The earth is always important in the way that we view the moon, right? Like at the new moon, the sun and moon, the subconscious and superconscious come together, and we consciously choose seeds that we want to seed the moon with these two in a harmony with all three. And then at the first quarter, the sun you know, is they're in a square. So this is an active relationship, but the earth is there like, okay, what kind of action are we going to take to support these seeds? And then the full moon, again, that's where we're at, which is about both seeing the stuff coming to fruition. I watch very carefully in my life of like what symbols I see, what animals I see, what's coming to fruition. Last month, on the full moon, my yard was covered in roses, and it was like this divine feminine energy, like in the yard. It was like at this real peak. And then that was the peak of when the roses were all blooming. And then, they've since there's still a few left, but they're dying off. So, like, there's this culminating energy. And then at the last quarter, again, the moon is, the sun's here, the moon's hidden or seen in the daylight, that's again an active energy of releasing. So that last quarter square, that last square. But that's kind of there's an interplay. I guess what I want you to take away from that is there's an interplay between our consciousness, the way we perceive things, our conscious awareness. I think of us, we're standing on the earth, right? So this is where we're connected to this. We're connected to the earth, and we're seeing the sun and the moon dance in the heavens, rising and setting and doing their thing. And this is an interplay between our consciousness, our subconscious, and superconsciousness, and how we grow and create and heal ourselves and figure out what our direction is, what our calling is, and do whatever it is that we're attempting to create and accomplish. Okay, so the full moon is in Sagittarius this week. The moon went into Sagittarius this morning. It's at 3:44 a.m. on the East Coast on Wednesday. And for us in Arizona, 12:44, so it's in the middle of the night. So I'll do my full moon wheel. I actually going to make my full moon wheel today, probably today, so I can start. I feel the energy. I feel like we're at the edge of the energy. Like I told you when I meditated this morning, I could feel the things like ideas were coming together and insights were coming together. So I want to capture those. I'm going to make my full moon wheel today so that I can capture the insights over the next few days. I think you could, let's see, it's like 2 days before. I would say, yeah, you could probably do your full moon wheel over 3 to 5 days around the moon. So like today, tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, there's that energy, has that culminating energy for a while. Okay, these are related to Jupiter in Gemini. If you choose, this is an optional reflection exercise. Kind of review like I did the past year. Like what were all the choices is kind of the question I had for myself. Like what did I accomplish in 2025 to 2026? What are the different offerings I created? What are the different choices I gathered around me? That was what I wanted to review because like I said, I was frustrated and exasperated at having all these different things. And then I decided to look at it from the point of view of like, oh, well, maybe this was just giving me a lot of choices. It was a creative year and not to like beat myself up about it, just be happy that I was able to create all these things in the last year. And, what do I want? What's near and dear to my heart. Again, that seems like a Cancerian, or it's not exactly Cancer heart, but what do I want? What do I really want? What's near and dear to me? That would be a Cancerian energy. So choices. So reviewing the past year might help you, unless you're already really clear on the energy, you might be clear and just be like, this is what I'm choosing. But that review activity might help you be like, oh yeah, these are the things that I really want moving forward. So that's kind of part of this energy. And we might not know. We're really in, like I said, an upgrade, a massive evolutionary upgrade. I don't think I know. I mean, I don't have a vision for the next 36 years of my life. And in 1989, I didn't have a vision for my life. I was 16 in 1989. I got it while Saturn and Neptune were coming together in, um, I think it was in Capricorn. I got an offer to go to college. I didn't ask for, I didn't, it was a solicitation. I got it in the mail and I was like, yeah, I want to go to college. And I didn't know what, I had no idea what my life was going to look like. I just said yes to this opportunity and applied, and my family offered to help me, help pay, and I went to college. And it was a very fast, like, transition from like being a high school student with no, I didn't have a plan to like leave high school early. I just went from like being a sophomore and then I was in college. So we're in a similar time of like that was a real upgrade in my life. It was like here I was this high school student and then I was this college student, and it was a really fortuitous, it was lucky. I mean, I feel like I'm very blessed because this could have been a decision totally gone wrong, but it was like I was like moved into this right place for me. And that really did start that was like a really huge, I don't even say like new beginning, new book for my life because my childhood was pretty hard. This got me out of the house and helped me to really start my life on my own terms. And so we're in a similar period of new beginning as far as like the next 36 years might look really different to you than the last 36 years. So this is a pretty big, and this new book, instead of like say next chapter, this new book is related to Neptune and Saturn going meeting in Aries, 0 degree Aries, and Pluto has moved into Aquarius. Uranus is about to move into Gemini, and today Jupiter went into Cancer. So we're gonna really feel the energy. I mean, if you don't already feel it, which you probably do, right? We're gonna feel this rush of new beginning and new creative energy and new because these outer planets are moving into air and fire signs. So there's a lot of like fire with the Aries and then and the Aries energy with Neptune and Saturn, and then a lot of air for the fire, like Pluto in Aquarius and Gemini, Uranus and Gemini. So there's like just this like let's create something. Here's so like I said, the reflection questions are what different choices and opportunities um, emerged in this last year while Jupiter was in Gemini. And as Jupiter moves into Cancer, what choice or choices or what's your decision point? Like, is there a decision point like, oh yeah, this is what I want to pursue? Or like for me, it's hard to narrow it down. There's a couple things I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this with this batch of time, and I'm going to do this with this batch of time. And like, what are the things that I'm keeping and I want to really put that fertile Cancerian energy into to cultivate. So it's a fertile time to really start seeding this new beginning, this new book. And then themes of home, that's just something to think about related to the Cancer energy that's building in the heavens right now. I think that's all. I'm going to stop sharing and thank you.